Let's get to work. We got a job to do. I love this guy.
You're going to call Jim.
Hi, David.
Tell me what to do. Why are you so far away? Okay, I'll call Jim. And then who's doing the presentation, me or you? This is a teamwork.
It is. It's teamwork.
Okay. Everyone in their position? Lovely.
Trustee Osterling.
Is our student, would you be doing what we do every week?
Yes.
You say yes. Get ready. Okay, so we are back from recess, and now we are going to, we had nothing to report during closed session. So at this time, can we have our roll call, please?
Trustee Brown,
Here.
Trustee Waugh,
Here.
Trustee Silver,
Here.
Trustee Chenlau,
Here.
Trustee Fellow, Trustee Martin,
Here.
Trustee Osterling,
Here.
Student Trustee Ramirez.
Here.
Where is he? Oh, there he is.
right
Okay,
there. Yeah.
great. Okay, and at this time, we will have our land acknowledgement by our student, well, let's see, what's his title? Associated Student President. Is that it? Yes. Thank you for leading this.
Pasadena City College is a learning community within the indigenous homelands of people who have been known as the Gabrieleño Band of Mission Indians of the Xixquianga Village and Quiche Nation. Tonight we acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced removal from this land on which we gather. Let us take a moment of silence in honor of the important contributions of the stewards of this land who came before us. PCC and its faculty, staff, and students recognize that we are all simultaneously teachers, learners, and guests on these lands. This land acknowledgement is a small part of an ongoing process of working to be in good relationship with the people of the land and embodying equity in our practices and policies. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll be led by Trustee Waugh, will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee Waugh. Next on the agenda, we have a resolution 697 authorizing remote teleconference meetings, I guess for the entire bodies, right?
That is correct.
So do we have a motion?
So
to
moved.
approve. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Raise your hands, yes. So it passes unanimously, right? With one absent, which is Trustee Fellow. Thank you. Okay, next is the approval of reordering agenda items.
Trustee Brown, I would like to move item I-1, which is our redistricting partners, to directly after item 12 in C.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
I would like to,
What would you like to do?
I'll just repeat it, but it's okay.
Oh, you can read, that's not right now.
Okay, okay, all right.
Okay, so do we don't need to make a
need to
motion?
have a motion
I
and
move to
approve.
approve the order of the agenda as modified.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
By raise of hands, thank you. Okay, next is introduction
Okay,
and
great.
recognition. All right.
Thank you. I'm going to actually move over here and
Former Senator, former Chancellor, former President, Dr. Jack Scott, would you come up here for a second? Former. No. So we got you here on a ruse this evening, largely because it's really funny how interested people are in the board agendas of this college. It's fascinating. Hi, Mr. Kostler. I know you're out there watching. Anywho, Dr. Kostler. So the reason that we actually wanted you here today is that on the December 8th board agenda, there is going to be a resolution, and on that agenda will be changing the name of the C building, also known as Horace Mann, to the Dr. Jack Scott building. Alex, would you like to?
That's overwhelming.
So, because you've had so many titles, you get to choose your honorific title.
I'm almost lost for words, but I'm not really always. That is just amazing. I'm so thrilled over that, and I think one of the great things that I was privileged to do was to serve as president of Pasadena City College. For one thing, it was the stepping stone to my legislative career, and I freely admit that. But more than that, it was just to be able to constantly interact with students, work with a wonderful faculty and staff. Those are great, great years in my life. And I know that some of the things we accomplished at that time in building and doing some other things I'm proud of, but it wasn't as a result of Jack Scott. It was as a result of Jack Scott working with some great Board of Trustees members who, by the way, were terribly supportive, and I really appreciated that. And also with a group of administrators and faculty and so forth. And I'm really overwhelmed. I am totally surprised.
Well, good. Then it worked. That's awesome.
I can't believe that that's going to be on a building, and that's the building I would love to see my name on.
Well, that's awesome. That's
because
great.
That's where I spent my time.
Well, good. And as I said, you've had so many titles, you get to decide which one goes on the building. But you have time. But anyway, so I hope you come back on December 8th, because we'd like to officially recognize it that day. But I couldn't ruin the surprise by having it come out, because I know Dr. Kostler, hello, would probably spill the beans for you. But
well, nobody spilled the beans.
Well, good. Then it worked.
I'm so honored. That's just a legacy that's wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
You're so welcome. And I take full credit for it.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Board of Trustees. Thank you, President Erica,
Thrilled.
Jonas, and all the others. It's really thrilled. I really didn't expect that, but it's wonderful.
We're so happy we were able to surprise you.
Oh, do you want me to take my deal off?
Yes, take your mask off.
Okay.
You see, you did a good job. Tammy?
Put us on your dance card, okay? December 8th, we'll get you here.
Well, I'll be here.
And that's. By the way, that's why we have the little mini bunt cut cakes over there. So get a bunt cake. This is a celebration.
Well, you're thinking me, I'll get one.
And next, we would like to have, where's the paperwork? Where's the paperwork? Where's it going to tell me? Okay. Jim Osterlin, please meet us at the podium. Thank you.
This is another surprise.
Well, you should be expecting this.
They're going to name a building after you.
Okay, so we're
thought you were
here
going to say
today
the men's
because
toilet in
we we want to thank Jim for his service as president of the board for 2 consecutive years. And unfortunately, due to COVID, he was not able to get his plaque, which will be now present to him. And we want to thank him for leading us through some very difficult times, but he did it very well. He did not complain when we asked him to serve a second term. He did it gracefully and always answered our calls no matter what. So, Jim, you did a fine job, and we appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get in the middle.
Yeah, in the middle.
In the
Jim.
middle.
He doesn't take direction well.
That's true.
He only talks. Thank you, Jim. Say something.
Thank you.
2 words.
Actually, I'm going to say the same thing that Dr. Scott just said. It was a reward to serve PCC and to lead it, but we had a great group of trustees and all the administration, and it made the job wonderful and rewarding, and I say that in the truest sense. So thank you.
Hey, Jim, you did that well. Isn't it cool? It's nice, huh?
Thank you.
That's great.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along with our agenda. We don't, no more surprises, all
No
right?
more surprises. At least I hope not.
Where are we?
Okay, we're on public comment.
I lost.
Public comment.
Okay, yeah, right, sure.
I
Okay, now next on the agenda is the approval of our,
No, public. It's
Oh.
public comment on non-agenda items.
okay, do we have
C8.
that?
We do. We have one public comment on non-agenda items, and that would be Alex Shaganaka.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Alex, you have 3 minutes, and who is running the clock?
You are.
Me?
It's right there.
Okay, so I'll keep, time. I don't have a,
Yeah, so you hit the green. There you go.
there you go, okay. So, there's no yellow, so it'll just go to red at the end of 3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So do I start now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the Shaganaka Public Safety Series, second episode. It's another heartbreaking day, at least for me, because this morning, I received a PCC police alert. Yesterday at our campus, there's an attempted kidnap. While everybody are celebrating that nobody got hurt, everybody is safe, I actually is deeply concerned. We need to thank God and we need to thank President Biden because the suspect is not fully armed. Think about that. What will happen that yesterday, the attempted kidnap in our R building classroom, that the suspect is fully armed? What can the police do? What can the students do? What can the bystander do? That's a really most difficult, critical thinking questions I have ever encountered. Most likely that nobody really take me seriously. Let's talk about the Wall Street Journal a couple days ago. FBI are tracking threats against the teachers, students, school board members. This literally 3 days ago from Wall Street Journal. USC, just a couple miles away from PCC, there's a bomb threat. 5 days ago, something like that. Half of the USC campus have to be evacuated. We are not even talking about school shooter. We are talking about a bomb threat. That's a totally different level. El Monte School District, couple days ago, there's a shooting threat. And based on the FBI crime data, city of Pasadena, the crime rates is higher than 70% of the city in the state. And then 80% higher crime rates from all cities in the nation. That's directly from the FBI crime data. Pasadena is not that safe that that everybody believe that we do not need officer to be fully armed. Last year, if a 16 years old kid can have illegal firearm from the street and rob several jewelry store, can you tell me why that our fully authorized, constitutionally proven, fully sworn in school officer, they cannot have a firearm? We live in a country that there are 100 million illegal firearms on the street, and our legal police officer cannot have it. That's just too much to ask at Pasadena City College. That's just something that doesn't matter how many times I take my critical thinking class, I just cannot figure that out.
10 more
so-
seconds. 10 more seconds.
Okay, all right. I'll see you in episode number 3.
Thank you. We also have Jeffrey Baum.
Where's Jeffrey? Oh, there he is.
Here.
Hi, Jeff.
President Brown, President Andronis, members of the Board of Trustees, I'm here to thank you and congratulate you on the wisdom of the selection and the decision to name the C building in honor of Jack Scott. Jack Scott, as you all know, was president of this college and served us in the state legislature. I had the very distinct privilege of serving with him when he was the chancellor of the state system for the California community colleges, and I was appointed to the Board of Governors. And if you go back and think about what it was like in 2008, 2009, the state was recovering from a massive economic recession in the nation, and we were actually turning students away from enrolling in community colleges. In fact, PCC was dealing with several budget crises. Linda was on the board, Berlinda was on the board, John was on the board at the same time, where we were getting mid-year budget cuts and turning high school students away. Jack saw this problem, Chancellor Scott saw this problem, and convened an august group of across the state. We called it the Student Success Task Force, and it dramatically reformed the state system, created the room so that we stopped being forced to turn students away and set the system back onto a path towards service and being able to do what we could for the students, to the point that we peaked at well over 2 million students within the California community college system. The entire state owes a debt of gratitude to Jack Scott, and it's fantastic that he's being recognized here in perpetuity at PCC. So thank you to the president, thank you to President Brown and the Board of Trustees for making this opportunity possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more?
Tammy, are there any other?
Oh, no, no more.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and supporting Dr. Scott. It's always good to see you, Jeff. Okay, now we will move to the approval of the minutes for regular business meeting 9 and 10. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor for the approval? Any thoughts, questions? If not, are you voting, Trustee Chinlaw?
Yes, sorry.
So we all voted, right? Okay, great, thank you. All right, next we will move to board committee reporting out. Do we have any committees reporting out? No? Okay.
I have a brief report out, and I need help from Dr. Andronis on this. We had a facilities committee meeting. Do you recall what date? I don't. About a week ago.
That was the 9th, I believe. Is
Thank
that
you.
November 9th?
Okay, thank you. And at our most recent facilities committee meeting, we looked at planned revisions to the master plan that we had previously approved, and I want to just recognize those and give thanks to Richard Larrett, Candace Brown, Superintendent Andronis, to being very responsive to issues and concerns of the community, and at a very late stage of the game, making these revisions to our facilities master plan, and I think it will go a long way towards the community being satisfied with the master plan and an eventual bond offering that we're shooting for next November. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any other report? Okay, so next on the agenda is do we have any update on DEI initiatives? Go ahead, Trustee Wall.
Yes, I just wanted to report out that we are now moving into the implementation phase of DEI on some of the recommendations that came from the work groups from phase 1, so we're calling this phase 2. We're working with the CEOs on this. So we have 4 areas that we are hoping anyone is welcome to join. Trustees, any of our faculty, staff, and of course our CEOs will be part of this. And so it will be on moving on implementation. So let me know, or let Trustee Gomez Heitzberg know if you're interested. We also have a town hall coming up on DEI on December 9th. We'll be sending out notices to everyone. It's going to be titled Data 101, and so how do we as trustees and CEOs use the data to move DEI and track the progress. So we'll have our own Crystal Colross will be talking about data. We'll have several other people, and we'll have a sort of a tabletop exercise, so a role play on how you ask for data, and then what does that look like, and then how do we best use it. So anyway, I hope you'll all join us.
Okay, any more report, Dr. Carey?
Good evening, good evening. Real quick, just some quick updates. We are engaging with our President's Leadership Council on Equity, Diversity, and Justice. We're having our 3rd meeting this month, which is exciting because that's when we'll start to do some goal setting for the college and kind of look at the data that we do have and to what extent is equity sort of present in the number of different areas that we've identified, and what maybe campus improvement planning and further assessment is needed to prioritize some of those efforts. So looking forward to hopefully our next space being able to share out some of those preliminary goals with you all. I think the other piece of that too is creating some shared language around the imperative, it being a mission-driven imperative, and what that looks like versus us talking about it being sort of an added value or of importance. You know, how is it critical to the work of CTE? How is it critical to the work of EWD? How is it critical to the work of business division and so forth? And giving some shared language for, you know, our stakeholders to use as they're engaging with their staff teams around this work is also going to be part of the PLC EDJ's conversation. The second piece, we've just closed out our allyship learning series for the campus community for, this Friday we will be closing it out, and we're anticipating hopefully some good engagement in our equity conscious professional learning series for the spring semester, which is focused on building racial literacy, and that's to really give educators the knowledge, skills, and awareness and dispositions to talk about race and racism. And we're really sort of centering that conversation not at the expense of other diversity issues, but given where it is sort of situated, I would say locally, nationally, and globally, making sure that we're creating some conversational communities and space and dialogue and language around that. So looking forward to rolling that out as we sort of focus on building individual and institutional capacity. And then the last thing is we have hired our new executive director, Quay Dang, as was introduced in a former board space, and really excited. She's hit the ground running and focused on our student equity plan for 2022-2025, and looking at sort of, where are the equity gaps as it relates to how we're serving our students, and wanting to involve more of a comprehensive approach to our student equity plan work that includes inviting instruction, student services, IE, campus police, and so forth into the cultivating of that new plan. And so I'm really excited, and also taking into considerations, I think, the sort of shift around our new normal as it relates to serving our students during this pandemic. So stay tuned for more information on that.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. Good job. Any other reports? Okay, so,
Now we're at I-1 redistricting.
also now we're at redistricting. Okay, let's
Yeah, because we moved
Let's
it up.
go to redistricting partners. And we can hardly wait.
Well, good evening. Happy to be here again. As you know, every 10 years, the board has to review the boundaries of the trustee areas. Redistricting Partners is here tonight to discuss those map options with you and hopefully help you come to a conclusion. So we have somebody new with us tonight because it's always fun to have new faces. This is Liz Stitt from Redistricting Partners.
Okay, Liz.
Hi, good evening. Let me just pull up. So tonight we'll be presenting additional drafts. Believe we went over this last time, but for those who are unfamiliar with the redistricting process, we do this every 10 years after the census is released to rebalance the lines and make sure that each district is equal. And these are the traditional redistricting principles we use. So each district needs to be relatively equal in size. It needs to be contiguous. They need to maintain communities of interest, follow city and census designated places when practicable, and then keep districts compact. So getting into the good stuff, we have draft map A. This is a minimal changes map using traditional criteria that I just went over. We have draft map B2. It reduces the city splits, it increases compactness, and it aligns more of the unified school districts. So it keeps those more whole where we were able to do that. And then draft map C, this is the new majority minority Asian district map. So just to go over the current lines, we have a total deviation of 14.3%. Just as a reminder, it needs to be under 10% by law. So we do have to make some changes here. And the first map up is draft map A. This is the minimum change map. It balances the population. There's a tiny change in the northwest portion of District 3. You can barely see it, but that is the only change, and it increases the Latino citizen voting age population in the district as well. So here is an overlay of the cities with these new lines. And then you can see that this has a deviation of 6.7%. So we are under that 10% deviation requirement. Here is draft plan B2. So this is updated from last time. It reduces city splits, it increases compactness, it balances the population, reduces city splits by unifying Arcadia, East Pasadena, and it resolves some other issues as well. So I'm just going to pull out my notes really fast.
School districts.
And here is the city line as well. So this map, it unifies school districts, including San Marino in District. So District 5 has added population from District 4, so all of San Marino Unified School District is within District 5. District 7 has added population from District 6, adding in this area surrounding Live Oak Park to ensure that the Arcadia Unified School District is entirely in District 7. We unfortunately weren't able to keep all of Temple City Unified School District together. That continues to be split among Districts 5, 4, and 6. So if we look at this is a lower deviation.
And it also unifies the El Monte Elementary School District and the El Monte Union High School District into a single district.
Thank you. Yes. And this is a lower deviation than map A. So we have 5.4%.
Liz, you mentioned that this replaces, the B2 replaces map B, right? So there were 4 versions the last time around, and this time you're showing 3 versions.
Yes.
There's no B. just decided to take out B?
Yes, we can revisit B if you would like. Completely up to you guys.
Okay, no, you can go on. I just wanted to note that there are actually 4 versions because that was what was produced for the community to respond to. So in this presentation, there are 3 versions and not 4, and the B is the one that's been
Not shown
eliminated.
here.
Yes, okay.
Correct. But we can always revisit that if you all want to bring that
So
up.
just for clarification, I think all 4 versions were on the website, right? Yeah, so I think all the community saw all 4 versions. So just on B2, so this is, so I like that it unifies the districts and the cities, but you said it's now, I didn't see the map, but Temple City used to be covered by 5, 6, and 7, so now you're saying it's being covered by 4, 5, and 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you clarify if that's Temple City Unified? That's going to be covered by 4 and instead of 3?
It will be split among 3 districts,
Okay.
4, 5, and 6.
So 3, okay.
And if there are no additional questions on B, this is Plan C. So this one balances population, it unifies foothills in District 2, makes District 5 the 3rd Asian majority minority district. Oh, sorry. And here you can see the overlay of the cities as well. And then this gives us a deviation total of 7%. So again, it's under the 10% maximum. And there's one more draft I just wanted to show since I believe a trustee asked for this. This is C2. It made some minor adjustments to District 6, 7, and 5. And I just wanted to briefly go over this because the deviation is too large, so we won't be able to use this. But I did just want to acknowledge that we tried to make those requests happen, and it is not feasible.
And what were those
So
requests?
what was the, what were we, what was the goal of this particular redistricting map?
Let me pull up the request really fast.
Well, you want me to answer it? It was to try to keep all the school districts as consistent as possible
okay.
together. So the difference between C2 and B2, you can correct me, is Temple City probably stayed at 3 instead of 4. El Monte was whole, El Monte Elementary was whole, San Marino's whole, South Pass, all the rest of the districts were whole. So it was the C equivalent of of that, and you probably could get the deviation under if you split Temple City back to 4 again,
Right.
if there were other parts that mattered.
So could you put the map back up again?
Oh.
Yeah, I was looking at that myself, and what I like about this particular one, if you could bring if it's possible, keeping the school district in that area where it's all that confusion. But then there's a little confusion also up here in Northwest, where I think it's not so much for me, but District 2, District 1, and District 3. If that could be adopted, that would be kind of good, because then it would be nice and clean. If we could bring the deviation down, and if it's doable, I think that would be good.
It does look to me that South Pasadena got adopted into another area also, so it doesn't look like that got kept whole, unless I'm reading this map wrong.
C2?
Yeah.
So I just liked some clarification in terms of the 3 maps that are being presented is A, B2, and C, right? Those are the 3 that are under consideration. The community did not see C2, that just came up today. And so if we're looking at an action item to vote on a map, we're looking at three options, A, B2, and C?
Actually, we are not, we don't have to vote tonight. I think it was very well said in our agenda package. I think it was a note that states that we really don't have to
No,
vote tonight. We have enough time till the December 15th, is that what you
Yeah,
said?
so that February 28th date is
No, no,
incorrect.
December.
It's December.
December 15th. So if we wanted to, that could be considered. I like the clean one. I like C2, and if, I don't want to put you guys to do a lot of work, but if we could hold the schools together and we could clean up Northwest, that would be perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't look to me, though, that this C2 does that. So it does look like.
For
they-
Northwest, it does.
Well, it does for you, but it doesn't.
And it does for, does it,
Not for Area 5, it doesn't
How
look like
does it do
It
for-
looks to me like Area 1 is now infringing into South Pasadena, which I think is an issue for the community, and I have talked to them, and they're actually voting themselves tonight on redistricting plans, including this one.
how far down is, well, you talk to me.
So,
What was your question?
So the presentation, what that list is making right now is saying that C2 is above the deviation, so she will have to make some adjustments. So does that mean that
If possible.
we need to make these adjustments, or are we just moving ahead with three versions right now?
We're talking at C2 right now, and I'm trying to accommodate the schools and Northwest, if possible. Now, what do you think, Jim? And I think the big problem was over in,
Yeah, Linda's hand's up. I would suggest we have a little bit more time, and we ask redistricting partners to take a crack at the C2 map and see if we can fix the problems. Don't know if we can or not. We'd have to get the deviation under 10%, and we would not want to be splitting up the districts that Trustee Wah already mentioned, and see if we can achieve that. I would, we have the time, so I think we should take a shot at it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then we have the other three options that have already been presented.
what does it do, hold on, Linda, what does it do for your district, Jim? I mean, Trustee Martin?
Well, C2 works for me, and the thing I think they could do is we realize we would be back to a little bit of the southern part of our redistricting looking like B2, and the northern part of our redistricting looking like C, so that we're accomplishing what you want. But what B2 did was it kept San Marino, it kept everybody together but Temple City, which I've been at this for 40 years. I grew up in Temple City. I've lived my whole life in Temple City. There's nothing, I've redistricted 5 times trying to think of Temple City, and it is what it is, you know? And if you lived in Temple City, you know it. It's not that big of a deal. So if there was a way to use the southern part of B2 and be sensitive to South Pass, San Marino, the El Monte school districts, Temple City schools might go 4 ways, we know that, and then accommodate what C brings to the northern part where I think you have more perspective than I do. I guess that would be kind of the best of all worlds.
That
And
would
bring
be
it
the
under
best
10.
of all worlds if you could pull it off.
Yeah.
Can you go back to C2 again?
Yes.
And I didn't see C2 in the options, so I didn't have a chance to dive in.
Yeah,
on it.
Yeah, I
because,
looked at it today. I saw
Yeah,
it.
I know. So does C2 keep Arcadia unified together in District 7? Because some of the public comments that came in also mentioned that Arcadia, being the second largest school district in the PCC area, deserves to have it be represented by one trustee who happens to not be here tonight,
Right.
unfortunately. So we're talking about C2 in looking at District 7. Does that keep Arcadia unified? Because Arcadia unified also goes into a bit of Temple City as well, because Temple City students can also go into the Arcadia Unified, depending on what the border is?
So the request was, you can see 6, and let me actually compare it to C. So if you look at the northeastern corner of 6, that was not there for Plan C. And the request was to do that so that it keeps El Monte schools together in 6.
But to her point, and I think the answer is there may be some of Arcadia schools in C that are not in 7. But if we go back to keeping the southern part of B2 the whole, we did accomplish that. And you can do that when you use Temple City, which is already divided, as the adjusting point, is my point.
I think there are 2 considerations here too. Certainly, we talked about, we're not entertaining C because C really draws on the Asian district, right? And so C2 really isn't about having a third Asian district. It really is about having the school districts together. So I would have that be a D instead of calling it C, because it's very different intentions of what you want to accomplish here. So if we're looking at District 7, and again, I'm sorry that Tony isn't here to speak for his district, we're also looking at an Asian majority district in District 7. And so in reading some of the comments that came through, that there is a preference to have the Arcadia School District be part of District 7 and not for that to be split. So that gives Asian Americans in that district the community of interest. So when I look at C2, while it accomplishes maybe putting some of the districts together, it doesn't accomplish keeping the Asian majority together for that district.
And we can definitely try accommodating that if that is the intention of what we want to do for this map.
Right, so I would prefer that we call it something else in C2.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to visually show my point, Temple City is there, and it's already split here. And this is El Monte schools that we're trying to keep in 6. Some of Arcadia schools, I think, is down in here. So, within Temple City. So, Arcadia schools could stay whole here, and we could get South Pass back over here and use this area, realign in this area to balance this, and 5. That's my point.
And I think, John, if you ask them to go back to put map B2 up, that'll show you what you're trying to describe.
Exactly shows it. Now, this is exactly what I'm showing. Again, here you can draw this line anywhere you need to draw it between 5 and 6 because it's all Temple City. And so you can draw this line anywhere you want to make that right. You've got Arcadia schools together. You've got El Monte and El Monte High School together. You've got all of South Pass together.
So John, I'm not understanding what is it about B2 that's different than what you would like?
I'm supporting B2, but what I don't understand about B2, because obviously I don't live there,
Right.
Linda does, I don't understand this portion up here that Linda's
I don't understand
asking about. So I'm saying from about here down, you nailed it.
Yeah.
You know, it's got all the local interests. These
Yeah.
school districts, they're very, there's houses right here across the street from each other in different school districts, and the same exact house has $200,000 difference in property.
Right.
Those are community of interest.
Right. So
Their local elementary and high school
yeah,
bonds are community.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So
Nailed it here. I want this part to stay. And then how do you accommodate for Linda's request up here where I'm not quite as...
It shouldn't be very difficult.
So what is it you're trying to accomplish? What is it you're trying to accomplish?
Altadena is split in 3 districts.
And so was it always whole in one district?
Altadena Altadena has District 2. Well, if you,
2, 3, and 1.
2 and 3 and 1.
Yeah.
So that is just,
So,
what I'm saying?
Altadena and
Yeah.
Altadena is part of the PUSD district. So PUSD is so large that it has to be split into the multiple districts. The
3.
Yeah, to 3, and they're. I'm trying to.
We're suggesting that that doesn't happen, and Altadena is a community of its own that shouldn't be split into 3 districts.
Community of interest.
Yes.
That's the word.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think to summarize what we've been saying here, we'd like to ask redistricting partners to take a new map. Sandra doesn't want to call it C2, so we'll label it map D for the sake of having a label. And it would combine the upper half of map C2 with the lower half of B2, and see if we can make that work and get the deviation under 10% and get the school districts in the southern half lined up
So
as
in-
they are,
so
as they
in-
are in B2.
As they
Yeah,
are
so
in
in the D map that we're talking about, then that means District 1 will go into South Pasadena, which is, I know Trustee Watt isn't thrilled about going to, you and I will share South Pass, so no matter what, there's going to be a shift, right? So it's either Altadena or South Pass, if we're looking at the deviation for District 1.
Yeah, 2 versus
Well,
3.
you mean there's nothing in the middle called Pasadena for District 1?
Then that will go into District 4. That will go into,
Yeah,
But 1 and 4 are already in Pasadena.
yeah, 1 and 4 are already in Pasadena.
but if we're looking at the population, if we're looking at deviation, if you go back to map 1A, so A is the one with the least disruption, which is the one that we have right now. So right now, all Altadena right now is split into 3. Pasadena is split into 1, 2, it's 3. South Pass and San Marino is still 1. So if we go to D, that is also a very drastic change than what we have with A, with the status quo of what we have. So
I'm not sure I'm following what
So
you're saying.
Jim, let me just ask you, so Altadena was never split, because Pasadena was always split among 5, well, not always, but it has been split among 5 trustees for the last 10 years.
Well, Pasadena is a city, these are rough numbers, of 140, 150,000 people. And I don't know, how big is a typical, how big will be an appropriately sized district population-wise? However, whatever map we choose, what
Yeah,
will the
let me-
population, just roughly?
So it looks like, just looking at the deviation, it's going to be about 58,000.
58,000. So Pasadena has to be split into at least 3 districts just by virtue of its size. Altadena is a population of approximately 47,000 and doesn't need to be split into 3 pieces and shouldn't be split into 3 pieces. It's a separate unincorporated Los Angeles governance, and it should not be split in 3 pieces in the same way that we're talking about how the school districts in the south should not be split.
No,
But
I
Altadena
agree
has
with you.
been-
I agree with you, but I just wanted to know, it was never split before, so we always kept Altadena intact?
no, Altadena was always split.
Well, I'd like Jim, because you're primarily in charge of Altadena. So who has been the trustees over Altadena?
Me. So I have about a sliver of Altadena, right? That goes to the northwest Altadena. And then that's always been split. And so if we look at the deviation, the population decline has been in District 3. So that's why when we look at, map B2 or map A, it's actually adding population from District 1 to District 3. So the population deviation, really, the decline in population is in District 3.
Well, I'm not objecting to anything that you're saying, Sandra, or questioning whether it's factual or not. I'm simply requesting that we ask our mapping expert to draw up a map in the, as an alternative in the manner described, so that Altadena is not split up into 3 districts, and at the same time in the south, they're split up into the logical school districts. And that's the request that I would like to make for redistricting partners.
So I think that we've been clear that our goals are to compact by school district, compact where we can,
Yeah.
compact by communities.
Yeah.
And so certainly communities of interest, I was all for it, but I don't see a good way for us to do that, to add a third community of interest without creating, splitting up communities and splitting up districts, which I don't think is a good thing, if we can avoid that. So yeah, where we can come up with the cleanest lines and then reduce the deviation. And I did not realize that we were at a 12% deviation with our previous map. Is that right? So now
I think more than that.
we have to get at a 10% deviation. I thought we were only like at a 6% deviation. No, 14%, which is really high. So if we get at least below 10%, then we're okay. So, maybe that's the best we can do.
Yeah, I think we should, redistricting partners are our experts, and I think we can charge them with doing that and see what they come up with. And I'm guessing they can come up with something that meets as many of those goals as possible.
Right. I mean, I do want to, I certainly agree, and I do want to say that when we looked at map C, the reason why the map C came around was because the population increase of the demographics does say that there's an increase in Asian population. So yes, we are looking at Altadena as a community, Temple City as a Temple City is going to be split 3 ways. We're looking at Altadena, but one of the reasons that concerns me when we, in some ways, look at where the Asian population is going, that we're saying that, okay, well, that's not as important because it certainly changes, all the districts around. But at the same time, the population growth is in the Asian population. And that's why you have asked to look at map C is to create that Asian district. So I'm not discounting that Altadena isn't important to be kept together as a community, but what I'm saying here is that the increase in population is in the Asian population. And that's important for us to distinguish between that and keeping Altadena together, or keeping Temple City together.
Well, I don't think anyone is disagreeing with trying to create a community of interest, but I think that what we're saying is splitting school districts and splitting up communities, and I do think Altadena is a pretty cohesive community. I think those are the goals that we're trying to accomplish. So if there's some way that we can look at that.
So I would like for, again, redistricting to see how, if you can, and I'm sure you can, consolidate this and clean it up, and we will, by then Tony will be here, and we will be able to do what we need to do. That will be much appreciated.
Okay, and just for clarification,
Yes.
you all are asking essentially to combine the top or the bottom of B2.
I think I can simplify it for
With-
you. I
Go
think
ahead,
they'd
John.
like a B2 called D with Altadena as a whole.
Okay.
Am I getting that, Berlinda?
Yes.
So B2 on the bottom, you got it. Start with there.
It's right there.
And then work Altadena as a whole and see what that comes back and call it D as in
Okay.
dog.
Are there any maps that you all want to throw out that you don't want to entertain anymore?
We're done. Hey, we're out of time now.
So then, if we don't throw any out, we would be presenting 4 options next meeting.
I mean,
And would this give you enough time to also gather more community input? So far, the community has seen 4 versions, and certainly C2 would be an additional version, and we would like to at least get some time available for the community to have their feedback.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
and it should be noted, this whole conversation in many ways is part of community feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
That's why
the
we're elected
community
by
feedback we got
Right.
centered an awful lot on trying to keep the local school
Absolutely,
districts
that is what we
and
work
cities
for.
together. That's the
Exactly
community
right.
feedback we got. That was the general thrust of that direction. And by doing what we're suggesting, we're actually responding to the community.
Certainly, that's one way to see this. But at the same time, I think that this is, again, a new introduction of a map. I mean, certainly the first time that I'm seeing it, so I'm sure that if it's the first time I'm seeing it, the community hasn't seen it or, have its own feedback. So, I hope that we can accommodate the community for their feedback to this.
I think our student trustee has a word.
Yes, thank you. And I don't believe I fully understand the impacts in terms of voters. And so if I could request that we receive data on voter turnout by each ethnicity in each district or in each trustee area and what those changes might look like, if that's possible.
Let me check if that's possible. I am not sure, but
How would
certainly
that-
worth asking.
How would that change? Because we're supposed to, the deviation is based on population,
Right.
not on voters and citizens.
Well, it would change based off of the voter turnout, because that's
doesn't
different from
do-
what the actual population is.
The important thing is that we base this off of the US Census data and not
Right.
voter turnout. So I do, want to caution about that.
Yeah, I would be very hesitant to ask for that, because then it becomes a political issue.
Yeah, we don't want this to turn into a political thing.
Okay, so we're going to, at this point,
No, we do have two public
Oh,
comments.
Here?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to call on Emily Quach.
Usually we start with that.
Thank you. I was moving on.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, wow, that's loud. Okay. And it was 3 minutes? Yeah.
3
Okay.
minutes, and I'll start the timer. You'll see the green light, and then I think when you have about 1 minute left is the yellow, and then the red will blink when the 3 minutes are up.
Got it. Thank you so
Okay?
much.
Of course.
Okay. Hello, Board of Trustees. My name is Emily Quach, and I am an Arcadia resident, and I graduated from Arcadia High School in 2017. I've also been a student at PCC and took numerous courses throughout my high school and college career. I'm here today to show support with my colleague for Plan B2 of the PCC Board of Trustees redistricting plan. I understand you just had your discussion and I was listening and are contemplating a new revision of this map. However, I would just like to show support for a plan that keeps Arcadia unified in one trustee area. So why am I advocating for Plan B today? I know back in October, the board discussed wanting to keep school districts together. It seems to be the message, and I think Plan B is a great reflection of that, or a plan that would include that moving forward. It keeps as many school districts whole and Arcadia Unified being represented in one trustee area. It does this without drastically changing the existing constituencies in comparison to its current borders, and it also includes students in the outskirts of Arcadia, like Temple City, that can attend AUSD schools. As a board member has mentioned, AUSD is the second largest school district in the PCC district with 11 schools, and I think it would be really crucial to have Arcadia Unified represented in one area because school districts play an integral role for the pipeline for high schools to the community colleges. There's been a noticeable trend amongst the past few years with more students being more open-minded to the community college path and more Arcadia High students attending PCC and the community college system. I think more Arcadia High students have jumped at the opportunity and that trend that I've noticed living Arcadia my whole life. Having Arcadia Unified represented in one area would allow for focusing on education of our communities rather than our city boundaries, and it would also support efforts by PCC to establish programs within the school district and with all students in Arcadia Unified. Additionally, as I've heard the board mention before, a trustee area covering Arcadia Unified would also create one of 2 majority Asian districts in PCCs, giving critical voice to Asian American communities. Personally, back in 2017, I don't think my peers really took advantage of what PCC had to offer, from dual enrollment to 2-year community college transfer programs. I greatly benefited from taking multiple courses throughout high school and college to be able to graduate in 3 years at UC Santa Barbara. Going to Arcadia High was difficult and challenging, and there were times I couldn't catch up to my peers in my AP courses, and I took the equivalent credit at PCC that were taught by professors specialized in their field. And these courses not only prepared me well for college-level courses, but also gave me more exposure to academia than my courses in high school. In college, with impacted classes and capped majors, it was also difficult to get into some of my classes, and I really, really thank PCC for the opportunity to take those courses to be able to graduate early. So therefore, I really believe keeping Arcadia Unified in one trustee area and strengthening the pipeline for students and being fully represented with the added benefits to other school districts as well.
10 seconds.
Keeping this whole and Plan B or the alternative that incorporates those values would be the best for the trustees' redistricting plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we have Lawrence Sung, I believe. I may have mispronounced that. Okay.
All right, so 3 minutes, right?
3 minutes, and did you see the lights from the other speakers? Do you see them there?
That one, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
All righty.
All right.
All right, so good evening, board members. My name is Lawrence Sung. I am a first-year PCC student who graduated from Arcadia High School in 2021. And I'm here with my colleague, Emily Quach, to advocate for keeping all of Arcadia in one trustee area by adopting Plan B2 or some other similar plan in the redistricting process. Oftentimes, some people might think of redistricting as a numbers-based process filled with maps, demographics, and other facts and figures. However, such a view does not account for the lives that are ultimately impacted by such policies, which is why I want to share a part of my PCC experience today and why it ties into redistricting. So when I began enrolling at PCC, I felt like the staff understood my needs and concerns as an Arcadia student at every step of the way, whether it be about math and English placement or what PCC extracurriculars corresponded with the ones at my high school. In addition, during the registration workshops, there was a clear camaraderie between my high school counselors and the PCC staff, some of whom come from Arcadia. Not to mention that the many people who enrolled from Arcadia High School represented a true cross-section of the high school student body. The Arcadia students I know currently at PCC span different social groups, from my own friends to my grades student government president, who is actually in my College 1 class right now. The dynamic between these two educational institutions makes it evident that PCC has a strong connection with Arcadia. Students and parents have placed enormous trust in PCC's ability to provide a high-quality college education, and the college has delivered on that promise by understanding and fulfilling what Arcadia needs. Therefore, it would be a shame for an Arcadia family to be separated from the district that comprises Arcadia Unified and to be lumped into another district, where the needs of the constituent cities don't reflect that of the school district. I would be devastated if an Arcadian could not share the same experience I had simply because they lived in a different district. Such a consequence is also a blow to Asian American representation in the San Gabriel Valley. Given the rise in anti-Asian sentiments, the majority Asian city of Arcadia deserves to have its voice represented in its entirety and not fractured into pieces. In my College 1 class, we are taught to recognize and value people's cultural capital and the communities that create it. Seeing that PCC highly values equity, diversity, and inclusion, I call upon the board to continue appreciating our communities of interest in full by maintaining Arcadia as one district and by adopting Plan B2 or a similar plan in the redistricting process. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is that it? Do you have any more?
That is all.
Thank you. Okay, so now we will go to our consent calendar. I think that's where we are. Combined calendar E1 through G. Do we have any questions or anything before we?
Motion to approve.
Actually, there's a comment.
We have a comment first. Go ahead.
I would like to pull E1 for separate consideration.
Okay, all right. So E1 for separate consideration. Okay, so go ahead and make a motion and then we'll.
I'll
put it-
move to approve with that adjustment.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, so all in favor of approving consent item without that one? Okay. All right. Now, go ahead.
So you want to explain? So somebody needs to make a motion to approve.
Okay, that one?
Yeah.
So I move
Oh, we're
that
ready?
we approve consent calendar item E1, which has been pulled out for separate discussion.
Good job.
And then second. Okay.
Okay.
Now you can say.
I just say I recuse myself?
No, what you want
No.
to do is say why, that's why you wanted it separated out.
Oh.
Because you wanted to recuse yourself.
I
which is
wanted
why.
to separate that out because I want to recuse myself from this vote on E1.
Okay.
So now we'll take a vote with a recusal, right? All, raise your hand, all in favor? Trustee over there? Okay, all except for,
And then you're an abstention.
she's
You're an
recused
abstention.
herself. Okay, so we got it? Next.
And you never
Okay, including, I think our student did vote.
That's fine, because you haven't done H yet, the personnel consent.
Okay, let's
calendar
go
is
to
separate.
H, consent H, which is personnel, where our student does not vote.
Approve.
Second.
All right, that was quick. Okay, all in favor? Any questions or comments? Okay, all voted. Thank you. Okay, now we go to number 3.
Okay.
Action items.
So now,
So we already did our wonderful, very good discussion we had, and I trust we will have a map to approve on the 15th, what was that, the 15th?
8th.
The 8th, okay. Okay, our next event here is number 2,
Excuse
is the
me, I do have-
nomination.
I do have a request for redistricting partners that they send us the HTML version.
They're
of the
gone.
map.
okay,
What,
that's,
Crystal,
Crystal
right.
has noted it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Nomination of David Ramirez for the Association of Community College Trustees, a student advisory committee. This young man has moved up.
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Before we vote, I just want to comment that, David, you're following in a long list of trustees that have gotten involved at the county, state, and federal board, and we are glad to see you step up. Thank you.
And we are so proud of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor, by the raise of hands? Okay.
If I could just say, I appreciate your support. I sort of serve as the secretary, informal secretary for this committee, so it's really great to be able to serve in an official capacity.
When he leaves here, he's going to be something
Good
else.
job, good job.
Okay, next on the agenda is to approve and adopt the 22-23 and 23-24 academic calendars. Do
So
we have
moved.
any discussion or any? If not,
Move to approve.
okay, we have a first and we have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Oops.
Okay. Okay, done.
Okay.
Okay, next is the resolution 698 commemorating Veterans Day, November 11, a little late.
Motion to approve.
I was,
Second.
okay.
All in favor? Raised by raise of hand. Okay.
I was going to make a motion to approve resolution 6, item 5 through
Oh, you would.
which includes resolution 699 through 702.
Excellent. Do we have a
That
second?
works.
Second that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. See, we're speeding this up. All in favor, raise your heads. My God, we got this down to a science.
Good work, John.
Okay, so what is next, John? Okay,
Announcement for-
authorization.
I will move approval of the item 9, which is the authorization to transmit the first quarterly financial status report.
I'll second.
All in favor? We all are familiar with this quarterly report. Okay?
Do we typically get a presentation with this? I'm not demanding that.
No.
No.
Okay.
No, not
Usually,
necessarily.
especially the first quarter, it's
Okay. All right, thank you.
Later on.
Yeah.
Okay,
All my
item number
requests.
10. Approve the memorandum of understanding between the Pasadena Area Community College District and the Pasadena City College Faculty Association regarding coaching stipend and fiscal year
Yeah.
22 to 23 and thereafter. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any discussion?
Say that beforehand.
Hmm?
You say discussion before then.
I did. I want to say it again. I want discussion.
She runs a tight meeting.
I guess, yeah, that's good.
Okay. Item 11, approve modification, addition, and deletion of credit and non-credit curriculum. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Well, it seems like we got through this, you guys.
Yes, you did.
Okay, information items, Superintendent President report.
Okay, so I'll start off by saying an early happy Thanksgiving and welcome to the holiday season. I went Christmas shopping or holiday shopping yesterday and heard my first carols. So for me, it's begun, right? Last week, I had the pleasure of attending the LA Economic Development Corporation Eddie Awards, and that was along with Trustee Silver, Trustee Wah, and Trustee Osterling. And I was able to, or I had the honor to accept the Eddie Award for Education on behalf of all 19 community colleges here in LA County. Dr. Francisco Rodriguez of the Los Angeles Community College District, my former boss, and I got to accept that award together, which was great. And basically, we were recognized, all 19 colleges were recognized as economic development engines for the county, and especially since we are going to be our own separate region, it's quite timely that we get this recognition, and we increase our partnership with the LAEDC. The event was held at SoFi Stadium, which was way awesome to be there and see what the stadium looked like. And so that was fun, great event. Yesterday, I was pleased to accept on behalf of Pasadena City College from the Campaign for College Opportunity, a PCC award for being one of the top producers of associate degrees for transfer, as well as we were also recognized for equity and how well we do in terms of helping our student population, and there were not a ton of honorees in that category, so we are up there in the state. Very exciting. Yesterday, and today, the scene in the piazza was very impressive. There were boxes and boxes of donated food being assembled into meal kits for our essential workers, students. Faculty, classified managers all came together to help make these kits possible. I think Trustee Silver might mention that a little bit later. It was truly astonishing, the amount of food that was donated by staff. Tables were covered with food, sorted by different styles of cuisine. So it ranged from, there was an area, or bags of food that are African American, some that are Asian American, Armenian, Middle Eastern. And it was a great way to represent the cultures that we have in our community. And I want to give a big shout out to our PRT team led by Talene Seropian and Dr. Tuk from the English division for making it all possible. It's part of our PRT activities about building collegiality across the college. I want to give an athletics update, very important, our women's volleyball. Undefeated conference season, and they went 18-0, and they won the South Coast Conference Championship on Saturday at El Camino College. They beat Mount Sac to win this. They're 23-1 overall. I was really bummed. I actually happened to be in the South Bay on Saturday for another reason, and I got stuck in traffic, and I did not make it to El Camino in time to actually see them play. They had just left when I got there, but they had won their noon game, and then they were coming back later, and that's when they won the South Coast Championship. So it's very excited. And that is the playoff matches for the state championship are likely going to be starting next Tuesday, November 23rd. That was the third conference title in 5 seasons for Coach Mike Terrell, so congratulations to him. The other update is with PCC football. We have our season thus far is 8-2. That is the most wins since 2002, and we are undefeated at home. And we have clinched a bowl game, and we'll know more about that. And I just want to give a big shout out to Coach Robert Tucker, because this is the second time that guy has done this, because I hired him at LA Valley College, and he came in and in his first season took that team to a bowl game and won the bowl game. So here's hoping he does this time. But it's pretty amazing to come in the middle of the year and be able to work with an amazing number of athletes that he wasn't involved in recruiting. He has new coaches, and some really great athletic staff we already had, and I just want to congratulate Coach Tucker and Coach Terrell. That is just amazing. Great job. This Friday, and I believe Dr. Bolin referenced this Friday is the third and final abolitionist allyship talk hosted by our Division of Institutional Equity, Diversity, and Justice. And this series will close with a talk entitled Advancing Racial Justice and Solidarity. And we've had more and more people come to each one of these sessions, so that's exciting to see. Tomorrow at noon, we will raise the transgender flag by the mirror pools, and this recognizes Transgender Awareness Week, and Transgender Awareness Day is November 20th. And the Foundation Scholarship event is coming up on Friday, December 3rd. We'll make sure that we pass along details. That will be, I believe, in Sexton Auditorium again. And is that right, Alex, I think, in Sexton? Yep. And it promises to be a really fun event, as always. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Jonas. Job well done. You're working very hard. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Not sure who's worse, she or Linda.
Wait a minute. I don't know.
Stop. Someone that suggests we start our board meeting at 3 o'clock. Not today. Okay, let's go on to, I think we should hear from Classified Senate report. Thank you. She's ready to roll.
Hi, good evening, everyone. The Classified Senate hosted our fall general meeting last month, which was a total success. We had about 100 staff attend over our virtual and in-person hybrid format. It was a great way to get reacquainted with everyone and update them on what's been going on here on campus and within the Senate. Moving forward in the spring, all of our Classified Senate meetings will be held in person. Additionally, we will be live streaming our meetings via YouTube to increase transparency and provide broader accessibility to our colleagues who are unable to attend. And finally, we'd just like to recognize a few people. We'd like to recognize Mark Mintz, who will be leaving us to join Cal State Long Beach. We would like to thank him for his contributions to the Classified Senate, his service to students, and the DSPS department. We would also like to thank Ann Ostrander for her 16 years of service here at PCC and wish her a wonderful retirement. And last but not least, we would like to congratulate Nadia Marquez, who will become, and welcome her as the new administrative assistant at the non-credit division. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, I know Dr. Lopez is not able to be here with us tonight.
Dr. Cobb is here for Management Association.
I see Dr. Cobb.
I wasn't sure.
I wasn't sure. She's management, right, Dr. Cobb? I just want you to know that Gina did send me a little note.
Yes, she did.
Okay, Doctor.
Good evening. So I just want to echo Erica's kudos to Talene Serapian, our counseling faculty, and Dean Tuktuk Tantaraj for leading the PRT activity that's going on this week, PCC Season of Giving. And we had a good time yesterday with Trustee Silver, creating bags, making bags for the food, and that was really a good time. And I think, the project was devised as a way to promote community building among all stakeholder groups at PCC, and it really would not have been possible without these two incredible leaders, as well as the hourly workers of the Lancer Pantry, who have been in that space from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. all week thus far.
Wow.
So I just want to take some time and publicly thank them, because I'm not sure people really understand all that they're doing to make this happen. And if folks have some time, please consider stopping by tomorrow, by the piazza tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., in which they'll continue the food distribution, and that'll go to about 250 students. So it's not only our allied health students, it's 250 of our students at PCC. And I also want to give a shout out to Tamika Alexander and her incredible team for her amazing leadership, and her incredible team for today's event on the yard, which is in the spirit of what happens at HBCUs at the noon hour, where we usually they have stepping, etc. And it was really to promote transfer and assist Black and African American students in the transfer process. It was a lot of fun today. I just really want to shout out Tamika and her team. Ernesto came to Associated Students today. If you want to know all that they are doing for our students, please check out their schedule for this month. You will see it's packed every day, and they're really doing things above and beyond to serve our students and get them to transfer. So I just want to shout out to those managers and faculty and staff who are really doing this amazing work.
And thank you for commenting on that, because I was in the middle of two different presentations during on the yard, and I was so bummed to miss it. I wish I could have gotten out there. I had so much fun the last time. So sorry to have missed it.
Okay, next we'll hear from our associated student.
Good evening. Since everyone's congratulating people, I want to also congratulate our ASPCC Executive Vice President of Communications, Felicia Zui, for advancing to the California Community College Athletic Association's state championship this Friday. It is scheduled for the 20th in Woodward Park in Fresno, California. I think that's amazing. Congratulations to him again. I also want to thank the Partnership Resource Team, as earlier mentioned, for collaborating with the Lancer Cares team and the Lancer Pantry and all the volunteers on campus. They've been dedicating their time with receiving donations, as mentioned earlier, packing and distributing student holiday meal kits. I think that's important, knowing that, roughly 40% of community college students are facing food insecurity. Also, I want to note that there are roughly 50 kits left, and students are able to sign up for them still. For those unaware of the unavailability, it ends this week. I'd recommend for students to come by the piazza and sign up if there's any available once they show up. I also want to mention that, since we participate in the shared governance at PCC, some of us have been collaborating within the calendar committee, and one of the plans being developed is, keeping multiple options open, or all options open. So we've began to draft a calendar that would include winter in 2024, 2025. There's no rush, clearly with the pandemic, but this is important for us to discuss and possibly propose recommendations. ASPCC has also been reviewing multiple bills as we prepare to lobby this upcoming year. To name a few, AB 940, which is College Mental Health Services and Programs, AB 1340, which is another mental health services, and AB 403, which is the Fair Access to College Textbooks Act. Also, ASPCC will be hosting a transfer alumni panel this Friday from 12 to 1, and it'll be featuring alumni who have transferred to Cal State Fullerton, Berkeley, and Yale. I think it's beautiful to, be reminded how impactful it is to have a strong peer mentorship culture at PCC. Also, ASPCC has been preparing for Holiday Angels event coming up, as well as the ASPCC Holiday Dinner. We've also been preparing for the spring semester welcome week. We anticipate a larger return to campus for in-person instruction. Students are yearning for that, and I think it's important that we anticipate that. Also, ASPCC is in communication with local organizations as we aim to survey students regarding a future bike pathway to campus in Pasadena. One of our biggest concerns is addressing, investing, and improving our sustainability at PCC, similar to how PUSD has done. And that's all for my report. Thank you all.
Okay, very good, Mr. Emmanuel. Yeah. Okay, now we'll go to our...
Emmanuel, I'm sorry, could you
Yes, Trustee
repeat what Felicius Wee, is he in the cross-country?
Yes, cross-country.
So he's running in Woodley Park across the state?
This Friday.
Oh, I wish him well.
Thank you.
I wish
I'll let
well.
him know.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's probably watching this meeting. Thank you.
I am sorry that I was not made aware of that, because I would have added that, I would have included that in my comments.
Oh, not a problem. I think he's also kind of kept it down low.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he likes the spotlight, but I think it's
But we like
important.
to give him the spotlight. That's an amazing
sure.
achievement.
I mean, I know that he recently ranked 62 in the state, and in this last race they had, he was number 1.
Awesome.
So that's why
great.
he's advancing.
Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. Thank you all.
Very good. Now we'll turn to trustees' report, and we will start with Trustee Osterlin.
Thank you. I've noticed a trend here. You always put me after a hard act to follow. Emmanuel Gomez is always a good speaker. And speaking of that, last week we were at the PCC Foundation dinner, and we had 2 speakers at that dinner, 2 presidents, I should say, our superintendent president, Dr. E., and our AS president, Emmanuel Gomez, and he gave a very inspiring talk. And I think, Emmanuel, it was heartfelt, and I think our foundation members really got a feel of how important the community college mission is, and you and the other students they support, and they really appreciated that speech. Thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Did you go?
The other tough act I had to follow was superstar Jack Scott. I really appreciate getting this really nice plaque, but you could have put me before Dr. Scott, not after. I was so tongue-tied I had nothing to say. So upon further reflection, I did.
Unbelievable.
No, you always have something to say. That is not true.
So I did actually have a couple of quick thoughts during that 2-year administration that I wanted to share everybody why it was so rewarding. Number one, the pivot to online when COVID hit by Dr. Androgenis, all of our administration, faculty, and staff was truly remarkable, all hands effort in the face of adversity that we all never could have imagined. And I was so proud to be part of PCC and see that happen quickly and effectively. So that was, thank you to everybody which was everybody here and more that took part in that initiative. And then the other item that really I was proud of was after the George Floyd incident and other incidents like that, we started a statewide DEI initiative, and Pasadena City College was the leader for that initiative without question. Trustees Brown, Silver, Waugh, student trustee David Ramirez served on 2 different committees, along with myself, but also Superintendent Dr. E. and various other members of the faculty and staff working on that initiative locally here. There's always more work to do in that area, but I really feel like we are leading the state in that area, and very proud of that. And then lastly, this was all bookended by the drive-by graduation at the end. That was just a lot of fun, and I'm glad we were able to at least recognize our students that way, even though we couldn't do the formal get-together. So that was kind of a wrap on my year, and it was rewarding, and thank you for everybody at this institution that made it great despite the adversity that we all faced.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were a great leader.
Thank you.
You were. It's true. Trustee Martin?
Thank you. I got to take a minute and just kind of speak from my heart and in part it's because of a couple events that have happened in the last few weeks. In many ways, I feel like I'm sitting at the crossroads of history, right here at Pasadena City College. This last week, we so appropriately identified this building in the name of Dr. Jack Scott and all he's done for community colleges throughout the state, and especially PCC. And the other big event that occurred, of course, and is identified, and I'm very appreciative, is the passing of longtime PCC professor and community college trustee Ed Ortel. And I did go to Ed's funeral and felt like in some ways I didn't quite see a lot of PCC people there, but probably they go way back, you know. You have to kind of go way back to be a PCC guy with Ed Ortel. And by the way, it's hard to identify anybody when you're looking at their backs with a mask on. But he definitely was a giant for community colleges and especially for local control for the state and especially Citrus. And in fact, had been a trustee at Citrus College for nearly half of the life of Citrus College. So in some ways that brings me to my point today where we have several critical topics some on tonight's agenda, some coming in the immediate future, where I see the tremendous history, success, and tradition that is all of PCC being able to be used to move PCC forward to a new level that has never been seen for community colleges in the state of California or anywhere else. I'm that optimistic about it. And it crosses so many topics that we're talking, but to name a few and the opportunities that I see in this vision. So when I first was elected, there was not a parking structure at Pasadena City College. And my goal was to increase parking at Pasadena City College. If you think the neighbors today are upset because of too much parking structure, you should have been around 40 years ago when there was no parking structure and see what the neighbors thought about it. And I remember distinctly saying there will be parking in our time. And I was laughed at because for all the time that I attended PCC and 20 years before me, there was never parking at PCC. It was synonymous with PCC that there would be no parking. That was really important. Bring that up to where we are today as we're talking about redistricting and the importance of keeping these school districts together. It's really important for those that live far away and are making a decision if they're going to be able to park or how they get there. And back in my day, everybody wanted to go to PCC because of the phenomenal education. The question was, could you find parking? And if you went to Citrus, it'd be free, and they had plenty. Or if you went to Rio Hondo or someplace else. So a parking structure was critical, not for my district and for this campus as a whole, and fast forward to where we are today, but it just shows how things are changed, and yet in some ways they're so much the same. PCC is renowned for that history, the quality of education, and that's critical for our future. And I am excited about our future because we have so many of the right pieces in place to continue to deliver #1 quality education. For some of the other districts away from 6, we have within us many, as we heard tonight, of the top elementary and unified school districts in the country. We have San Marino, South Pass, La Cañada, Temple City, Arcadia, of course, all within our district. And the competition for PCC in these districts, our competition is with Harvards and Yales and universities where these parents want to go. But when you have the tradition of educational quality that PCC has, and we continue to make that our first priority, as we heard tonight, very articulate, people are sensible and realize that PCC is the best way to the best quality education you can get no matter where you come from. The competition in my district is different. We're not necessarily competing as much with the universities. We're not even, yes, we're competing with some other local community colleges that are just as close, but we're competing with the opportunity of missing out on not just going and getting a job. You know, the #1 issue in El Monte school districts is attendance. They want to get the students there. The #1 issue in all those other school districts, their issue is attendance too, but it's how to keep attendance out. You know that Pasadena has 4 high schools, 125,000 students, and a population in high school of someplace around 2,500 students. Arcadia is 54,000 students and has 4,000 to 4,500 students at Arcadia High School. They got an attendance problem, but it's different than the El Monte attendance problem. And we have to be sensitive to both quality education for the vast amount of our district where we compete with that and need to deliver for our residents, but we have to be sensitive to those who view the 20 to 30-minute commute to PCC as an opportunity that they could have made $7.50. And that's where having the satellite campuses comes into play, and so critical for some geographic areas where our competition is workforce or our competition is accessibility. And what I'm excited about, if you look, there's many private institutions of higher education who have a strategy of trying to be ubiquitous. They have campuses hither and yon and advertise them so that you think of it that way. And yet with the upcoming bond that we're working on, with some other opportunities that we have, PCC's future is we can leverage quality education, we can leverage that with satellite campuses, we can leverage that with the phenomenal work we've done with online education, and we can create a ubiquitous program where top quality education through PCC is the center of the San Gabriel Valley. And that's the future I see built on this tremendous history of Ed Ortell's and Jack Scott's. And we have a phenomenal administration in place that can deliver it. And we have what PCC is renowned for. We have an incredible faculty that can deliver it. We've got the pieces. And with a bond that does appropriately allocate some funds for some satellite campuses to reach all the corners of the district, we have an opportunity and a vision to deliver that has never been experienced, I believe, in community colleges. I am excited about the future of PCC and where we are today and the opportunities for us if we can focus in and make some critical decisions here in the next few months, and I'm confident we will. So I appreciate you all listening to this. You normally know I normally pass and not have a word to say.
And
but
that's why
there's so many topics on this agenda and future agendas that are all, in my mind, all part of a central vision where we can make the next decades incredible. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, John. That was very touching. Okay, let's move on to Trustee Waugh.
Well, thank you, John. I think that we all buy into that vision and very powerful words. So a couple of announcements. Just want to make sure you all know, if you have not received a flyer, we'll get it out. But December 4th, the Asian American Advisory to Dr. Androgenis will be holding their the annual symposium again. This is a Pathways event, and it's going to be titled Get Ahead of the Line with College and Career. So this is one where we usually have over 200 students and parents from all of our communities who attend. So I hope you will, all of my fellow trustees will get the word out to their communities also to attend. Also, the CCLC, the League Conference, began on Tuesday. There's 2 more days. Some really good presentations, and I want to especially thank Dr. Androgenis, who did I think you chaired 2 of the caucus meetings, as well as the CEO trustee DEI presentation. And you know, I really want to appreciate what you had to say about tying the goals. And she did a great representation of how she tied the board goals to her goals, to the college goals. And this is something that we are discussing in this Data 101 that we'll be doing at the town hall. So I hope all of you will attend on that. And if you've not registered or not attended the events, there's 2 more days to go, so Thursday and Friday. And then I also want to just do a couple of shout-outs. So I want to thank Dr. Torres Ratana for the work that she has done in dual enrollment, especially in Area 5. South Pasadena and San Marino are reporting great success with the dual enrollment that they have, and I know that we'll be doing more in Temple City. So thank you for that. It's created a lot of vision in San Marino. Many of you know I worked there for many years trying to get them into dual enrollment, so I'm starting to hear some really good positive messages. But I want to give some shout outs to Dr. Kiotis, who reported that 35 of our PCC ADT business students transferred directly to Cal State LA into the business school.
great.
So yeah, great accomplishment. I'd love to see where those students came from. In our high schools, I think this is how we build our partnership with our K-12 to show the success. And I will be talking to Dr. Jackson at Cal State LA to encourage him to add another 2 years for the MBA program. So we have a 2+2+2, which I think would be very valuable for our communities. And I also want to give a shout out to the scholarship student who was an awardee for the Asian American Architects and Engineers. That was a $5,000 scholarship. And so that was awarded to Kimberly Yan from PCC, from our architecture engineering group. And I want to thank those faculty and staff who were able to attend the Asian Pacific Islander Disabilities Conference Gala. And 2 of our students, PCC students, Kelvin Chow and Angela Zhao, were APIDC graduates from that program. And Kelvin is going on to UCLA, to the nursing school. And Angela will be going to UC Irvine. So,
nice.
yeah,
Excellent.
Great accomplishments. So thank you for all of the support, Dr. Androgenis.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
And Berlinda said I should go next.
Should go next.
So, who's got the pictures?
Alex is about to pull them up.
Okay, so Alex sent out the emails multiple times. Help on the. Now I like this being a Trojan, and they always use SC then to go into a word. I see it happening here, the PC season of giving. And I thought, okay, well, I'll do 1 hour. I thought I was just going to pack some bags, be done. I walked into the piazza, which, by the way, I'd never been to because I'd never been on campus really before. And there was fun music playing. There was a table laden with snacks. There were decorations, fall, cheerful decorations. And it was awesome. They broke us up into teams. That's with there's one other woman. We were 3 of us on teams. And they gave us art projects. Now, I like a lot of things. I like looking at art, but I am no artist. So I'm like, oh, Lord. But we decorated the bags for the students. Pulling back into my history, I thought I would make some handprint turkeys. So there are a few bags with my handprint turkeys on there. And we had a little competition who decorated the best bag. And we took them, and you cannot believe the amount of food that our faculty and staff donated for our students. I'm going to read some of the statistics. These are the packed bags. When I walked in, there are still tables filled with all kinds of good food. So I'm going to read some numbers. And also tipping the hat, as Dr. Cobb did, to the Partnership Resource Team, which I didn't know about, and the Lancer Care Pantry. Partnership Resource Team is something that's happening this year to improve collegiality and communication amongst employees. I'm telling you, it was collegial. Well done, very well done. Co-led by Taline Seropium and Dr. Tuk Tuk. I'm glad even you didn't pronounce her last name. Okay.
I just always call her Dr. Tuk Tuk.
Okay, Dr. Tuk Tuk. And the Lancer Care Pantry, led by Carmen Stevens and Marissa de la Torre. They tell me that the entire event began on November 1st, when all of you, I'm sure, got emails asking for donations of food for our students. And it was a competition, it turns out, between departments or divisions. They got over 4,000 items donated. And I read, we have a clear winner that will be announced on January 7th at Professional Development Day. So don't miss Professional Development Day. There is a fabulous award coming. The food stuffing was a wonderful success. We had over 115 employees participate and decorating bags. By the way, there was a police officer, campus policeman, that drew a dragon on his bag that was like cartoon style. Disney should know about him. He was amazing. Hidden talents. So 115 people created the bags, and it's going to be a total of 250 bags for our students, and the excess food will go into our Lancer Pantry for them. And it was so fun. This was the first time doing this, and they hope that it becomes a new PCC tradition. So it's awesome. Thank you.
Very, very good. Keep it up. Trustee Chenlao.
Thank you. I don't have pictures to show, but I do have a couple of things to report. This last couple of weeks, we received some sombering numbers on enrollment from EdSource that delivered a report to the California State Assembly's Committee on Higher Education. For the first time in the 3 decades, community college enrollment has dropped below 2 million students. And certainly it recognizes that across the 16 campuses on 116 college systems, that there's a nearly 15% of decline in enrollment. And the students that are mostly impacted in this report that it reported were African American students, male students, and Native American students. And in the same month, the California report on the state of higher education for the Latinx student population also came out. Very similar, sombering numbers as well. Enrollment, retention are all declining. So there is a need for an urgency in supporting these students, and I'm so glad that PCC will continue to focus on supporting our minority students, especially those who may need extra support during this time of the pandemic. I am glad to report that in attending one of the President's Latino Advisory Council meetings, there is going to be discussion, I think in the coming months, on the mentoring model, on supporting the student as a whole, not just seeing the student through, transfers, but in really looking at where the student is living, housing security, food insecurity, and all of that. So I'm really glad that President Andronis, through her advisory council, is going to be working with community groups to ensure that. One of the conversations that I had with the NAACP education chair when he talked about PCC was that the students that he's working with, they're not looking to transfer. What they're looking to do is to get a certification from PCC. So we understand that there are many students at PCC who want to get career technical education, and that is their destination. And we need to, certainly through the administration's goals, look at what those completion rates are and to continue to work with community groups like the NAACP to ensure completion. And finally, I will be hosting another virtual coffee and tea, but this time it's just not with me. This time is with the New York Times writer and author J. Caspian Kane. And what he has proposed, which is quite dynamic, is for all the UCs, including UC Berkeley and UCLA, to accept all California community college transfers as a way for them to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion. What he argues is that the current percentages of increasing student admissions at these two colleges are too low. So if they want to have, if the UCs want to have higher population of Latino students, African American students, the best thing they can do is to accept all transfers from community colleges. So I hope you would join me. That's November 22nd from 7 to 8 p.m. And his book that is out is called The Loneliest Americans on Asian American Political and Cultural Identity, or lack of. So thank you. That's my report.
Okay, our student trustee.
Thank you. I just want to mention the transfer panel that AS is hosting again. You might recognize that Nune will be there. She's a previous student trustee from PCC. She transferred to Yale. She now works in the government relations in CCLC, so that's really great to see that she will be attending. We also have other previous AS board members, Ryan Tan. He's currently attending CSU Fullerton. Jessica Wu, she's at USC, and Michael Garcia at UC Berkeley. So we're pretty excited to hear from all these individuals who have been very involved at PCC and continue to support our students. Also, like Emmanuel mentioned, our Vice President of External Affairs, Jonathan Apodaca, is preparing his lobby committee to put together their federal legislative agenda, as well as preparing to send their priorities to local legislators and eventually put together a state legislative agenda in January and February. I also know that this board usually does the same around this time. So I'm really looking forward to that close collaboration in the near future. That's all.
Okay, very good. So I had such a wonderful time away. I needed me time, and it was just wonderful. So before we adjourn, I do have something I need to say, and I do need to say it publicly because I think somehow, Sandra, this is for you. Somehow, something went wrong. You know, they have those tips, something went wrong. Now we are in the political time where I am running for office, and 3 other ones of us. I am not sure where and how this went down and why it was accepted, but we as trustees, we are not allowed to use PCC resources for meaning their staff or to promote our interests. So I was going to wait, but let me just make it now. We got 4 trustees, and I am going to be having coffees. I'm going to be knocking doors, but I cannot use my students to knock the doors for me, unfortunately. I cannot use Alex to print papers for me. I cannot use our superintendent to make promotions for me. So we really need to follow, and I do have a copy of the policy. I also did get a little, advice from the council to make sure that I am not out of order, because our policy, I kept reading it and reading it and reading it and says, well, you know, it says, but the perception is very important. So, Alex, as of now, you're not able to print anymore. And we cannot get into this. I appreciate the coffees and the teas but there are ways we could do it without including our college and putting us into trouble. So I hate.
No,
but
you
I
don't
had
need
to
to. You know what,
follow. I had
Belinda?
to do it now.
No, I understand, but
Yes.
I think this is really unnecessary because I am not using college resources for campaigns. My coffee and virtual teas are for the public.
And
It
that's
says
good.
that I'm a PCC trustee. So for you to bring this up in this public way, you're making some accusations that are incorrect, and
Okay.
I don't think that's right.
Okay.
Because I am not asking Alex or President Androgenis to campaign for me. My virtual coffee and teas have been for students, have been for faculty, have been for constituents. For you to misconstrue that is actually quite offensive.
I will.
And no, let me finish, please, since you brought this up. So in all my coffee and teas, it was in my role as the PCC trustee. I did not say in any of my coffee and teas to vote for me, to campaign for me, and I have not asked any students to do that. So again, for you to make this insinuation is, again, offensive. And I completely disagree with you. And if you, I mean, certainly we could take this offline,
We
but,
should.
but this is not necessary, Belinda.
I will forward the report for you. But the only reason I had to bring it up is because you mentioned it again, and it's been really, but anyhow,
But
let's.
but as a trustee, one of our main duties is to be a community liaison,
we
and
do.
that's what I'm doing, is having these coffee and teas to engage with the community, and this is not the first time that I've had it, and it's multiple times. So let me ask you this: how many trustees? If you want to play this, Belinda, let's do it. How many trustees have you talked to that have had community engagements?
Can we talk offline now?
No,
Offline.
because
It's
you
over.
brought this up, and I've, and you've come at this multiple times, so I want to clarify that. So is being with our constituents not a duty of what we need to do?
What have you done to help and promote this that we're talking about? How about you, Alex? What have you done?
And let's not put our staff on the spot, but
I have to.
So I think any sort of creation of materials does count as staff time. And I think it takes on a different flavor.
Sure.
When there is an impending election, whether or not a coffee and tea is considered just a constituent event or a constituent event that could lead someone to believe that it was for a different purpose. That's the way that I think it could be seen. I want to make it clear, this did not come from me. I want to be very clear.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand
But-
that you're put
but-
into a test situation, but the coffee
That's
and
good to
teas.
talk.
But it is-
No, but the coffee and teas have started way before this.
They-
So if that was an issue, then I would have appreciated that being brought up early on, and that wasn't. So I continue to do that. But again, I feel like this is very unnecessary to have it be publicly discussed like this. But I'm happy to do it because I don't have anything to hide. I'm not doing anything wrong. But certainly, I see your point. But again, it's not something that I appreciate it being discussed at
Okay.
this time.
Can
All
I
right.
just make a comment?
Sure,
That I
go
think that I appreciate that, Trustee Chen Lao. I think in some ways, this is an important time to make a statement about what is perceived to be appropriate and not, because there are 4 people up for election in June. So I hear you.
I know you
and-
don't want 3 other trustees to be doing the same thing.
Well,
That's good.
and I think, I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I think that when we are less than a year away, I mean, we're barely 6 months away from an election, that districts are in a tough position because obviously I'm Switzerland. I have nothing to do with the elections, but we have to be fair across the board. So in some ways, what's important is that there's a public statement right now
Sure.
about what role the district will or will not play between now and June 7th. And the
No,
bottom
I
line
understand.
is that our services are not going to be involved in public events of any sort.
Right, and I wish that you and the chair could have told me this privately, but I guess you could have a public statement. I do want to clarify that Trustee Silver and I had a budget coffee and tea early on when she was elected, and at that time, I was very clear. I said, look, I paid for this. I can do this. I don't want it to be seen as if I'm using PCC resources to this. And I recall that you had texted me and shared with me the fact that, oh, no, this is about PCC. You don't have to worry about that. And so that was the directive that I got to continue to do that. And I want this to be public, is that I did ask that this is something that I could use my own resources for, because I wanted to have that clear line between campaigns and
That
Yes,
had to
yeah.
do, and at the time, it was not in an election season, and that had to do with the budget, and you and Trustee Silver were talking about the budget in a different context. So, and I believe you invited other people to
Sure,
that.
yeah.
And so that was different. It had to do with the state budget, and it had to do with the state budget. It was a different context with other people there. I want to be clear that that's different than a single event.
so what I'm hearing is that, so this coffee and tea, because I have the New York Times writer come, that it doesn't have anything to do with the college? Is
No,
that
I'm not necessarily saying that. What I'm saying is, when I responded to your question before, that was in the context of a state budget where you had other people coming, and it was a broader information sharing. It was not election season. It was about the state budget, and there were other people there. This is different. It's 6 months away.
So you're saying that,
Trustee Brown, could I say something, please?
Yeah.
so you're
Yeah,
saying,
I
excuse me.
really appreciate Trustee Brown's comments, because I do think there are 4 of us who are running. I think we have to stay above board. I think that there are a lot of districts where communities are looking at the behavior of trustees. And I also want to just reiterate that, we as a board are we do not act individually. I mean, we are elected individually. We can meet with our communities. But when we choose to do something on behalf of the college, this is something that the board as a whole agrees to. So I do think, having been on this board now almost a decade, not as long as John, but I've seen enough and I've received enough comments throughout the years where there have been differences of the trustees, and I know that publicly arguing about these things makes the staff feel very uncomfortable. So I want to reiterate what Trustee Brown asked for, and that is if there is an issue with any of the trustees about what has been said, that you take this and handle it differently. It's not in a public forum.
Well, this was brought up in a public forum, so I want
Okay,
to address
so-
it in the public forum.
Okay, so we are going to, I really had to say it because it was like okay. We are going to,
So let me just ask
Okay,
this
make it
question.
short, 'cause
No,
we gotta
no,
go.
excuse me. So let me just make this clear. So what I'm hearing then is that from now until June, that we're not going to have any public events as trustees on our own. Is that what the message here is?
when you say, I'm going to have events all over, I'm just not going to include staff.
Okay, that's fine. So I can use my own resources to do it.
absolutely.
So that's fine. I just want to make that clarification
yeah.
because otherwise, what it's sounding like to me is that you can't do public events.
Read your policy, okay? Read the board policy. I think it's BB 2716. Review it, and then if you have any question, you can call us. Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item, which is proposed future board business meeting dates.
There are no changes.
Wonderful. Number 3, proposed future agenda items. Do we have any future agenda items? No? Okay. I'm just this sourpuss right here. Okay, so tonight we are going to adjourn in memory of Edward C. Ortel, JD, faculty for 41 years, and Arcadia City Councilman Roger Chandler. So at this point, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.